Nope.
Cheers to episode 68.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Look at this little guy. It's called Fruit Smash Tropical
Hulk smash.
Punch.
It's gotta be good.
Is it gross?
It's pretty solid. It tastes like a different seltzer. I just can't think of it. But wait, there's more. Fruit Smash Pink Lemonade.
That's gotta be better.
I want to try both flavors bad. It's very light. It's all light. Alex doesn't like that. There's also a berry blast. I like pink lemonade. They're both refreshing. You don't see seltzers in beer cans very often.
No.
Alex just ran in the living room, if that's what you heard, to try both. What do you think, Alex?
The first one I tried, poopy. Real gross. It's like it reminds me of sparkling water.
You know what
Like
it is?
LaCroix.
I think it's like raspberry White Claw, which is not my favorite flavor.
What was the second one? Lemonade?
Pink lemonade.
One was better. They're both yeah.
No, I agree. I'm disappointed. I thought tropical punch would taste like high C or Hawaiian fruit punch is what I was envisioning, like alcohol version, but it was not. Evan, you had the special next.
Yeah, just the Bud Light next. Something light, refreshing.
The futuristic beer.
Yeah, just easy. It's just something easy to drink.
Yeah, goes down smooth. Alex, are you nothing for you?
I didn't want to be hammered for Dave Birkett.
You're like a camel. You're like a right. They don't have to drink a lot, or a cactus.
Well, I drank yesterday, so
Yeah,
didn't really feel the need to.
Yeah, you were bombed yesterday.
I was not bombed.
All right. Proper intro here. It is April 20th, 7:45 p.m. Welcome into the number one.
Let's blaze.
Number one sports
No booze because I'm smoking.
podcast in Michigan, and it's draft season. It is draft season for this podcast. We waited. We have not scratched the itch that much until now. So this show, our next show after that is going to be a draft bonanza. I was going to say another B word that you can't really say. Okay. All right. I guess you can say it. And I was also going to say, you guys did it for me, but I think I reached a point of maturity in my life where when I do the and then the thing I say, I thought about doing 420, but I feel like I've reached a point in my life where I didn't want to lean on a 420 joke. So I don't know. Does that mean I'm more mature now or no?
Based on the things you've said to me today in the last several days, you haven't matured one bit.
Like what?
I'm not going to repeat the things on the show, but come on.
Are you trying to say that I'm different off the show than on?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. To preview the show, weekly check-ins, as always, we have our kind of quick hitter segment of national storylines, this time being the NBA playoffs, because we have to select our bandwagon teams since the Pistons are a third worst team in the NBA. And then we have Detroit Lions draft preview show. Not really a mock draft yet. That'll be next show. This is just going to be the latest rumors, biggest needs, our dream scenarios, what we would hate to see happen, what we think will happen, guys we like, all the good stuff. There's 2 listener questions that were kind of draft related, so we'll do those. That'll pretty much be it, because I'm sure we'll get into the draft in the weeds and it'll run a good amount of time. And then we might, you never want to guarantee it, but should have an interview that you guys will be hearing later. It'll be with Free Press beat writer for the Lions, Dave Birkett. You've probably seen his work. All right. So weekly check-ins in honor of Alex's birthday. I'm just not even going to recap my week because it's all about him. It's his week.
Wow. What's his month?
Just kidding. I'll go first. I had a doctor's appointment this week, had an annual physical. I know what you're thinking. No sports hernia test because I don't really play sports anymore.
It's the best part.
But my doctor did advise not to push hard when you're on the toilet taking a number 2, which is, I guess, a good reminder for everyone. You don't have to try not to push really hard because that's how hernias happen. Alex
makes sense why I have 10.
Alex knows all about that.
I do not know about having a hernia. I've never had one. Pushing hard, yes.
My only other things, really, it was good to see some family over Easter weekend. I would say that's always nice to catch up with the cousins, eat some good food, some really good food. It felt almost like a Thanksgiving spread as opposed to Easter, but it was phenomenal. And then lastly, hand up, man of my word, man of integrity. I jumped the gun on spring weather. I jumped the gun.
Confirmed.
It's like we told you that or something when you said it.
It's an annual mistake. I may be more mature and not making 420 jokes, but I'll never learn.
You going to
lesson
declare
of
it again
jumping.
since it's going to be 70 degrees this weekend?
Well, I did say in the clip or in the segment last week that like if there is one more bad storm, then that's the last one. So yes, we will not have another bad stretch.
Great.
We're in the
It's going to
clear.
snow next week again because of you.
I'm like that groundhog. When Grant declares that spring is here, there'll be one more storm, and then we're in the clear.
We'll see.
Pretty much it. There was some birthday stuff with Alex, but I'll let him get to that. It's his birthday,
really?
you know. Evan, you go first, and then we'll save birthday boy for
He
later.
didn't do anything fun.
He's a big
Week
birthday
in
guy.
review.
No, I'm not.
We talked on last Tuesday. Didn't have golf league on Monday. Snowed out.
Thanks to Grant.
Easter
Yes.
was just. I had a very fun, just good, solid Easter weekend. Family on Sunday, Friday just went out with friends. Saturday went golfing. Played solid, played decent.
Where'd you golf?
Local, Raisin Valley.
With
Jason and Rye Guy and Cheese.
Oh.
Yep.
You
Had a
win?
little side bet going on, see if I could beat Rye Guy. Of course I did.
What's a cheese's game like?
Oh my gosh. It was putrid on
Good.
Saturday. It was terrible. He's pretty solid. He's probably comparable to everybody else, like me or like Ryan or anybody. But he could not find it. No matter where he looked, could not find it. I made a joke with him on Sunday saying Kobe already had his Easter egg hunt because of how many balls he was looking for on Saturday.
That's a pretty good joke.
Yeah. It was a solid, fun time. Not really. We were kind of stuck behind a group who kind of slowed us down, but the way that a couple of us were playing. Jason's a beginner at golf, so we bear with him. But Jason's super fun to play with because he just doesn't take anything seriously, and if you're trying to lock it in, or if you miss a putt, he just kind of laughs at you and says, "Come on, dude, it's just golf." So it's pretty solid.
Morale guy.
Yep,
Yeah.
huge morale guy. Monday, didn't do anything Monday. Was a lazy, and then Tuesday was honky tonk country night at Harper's. Try to go out. I got in.
As you should.
Yep.
25.
Yeah. Jose was not working the front door with some huge big ginger guy. And he was just denying everybody. I mean, if you walked up there and you looked underage, you were getting denied. Just denied everybody. Turned away. I mean, at least he was handing back the fake IDs to everybody. But nobody was getting in. Nobody. And Cheese got in. Katie got in. And I was like, well, I'm going in. I mean, I got in. It's country night. This is what we came out for. Yeah. This is the bar that I want to go to and listen to country music all night. I was the only one in there. I stayed there for about 15, 20 minutes. Everybody bolted. They went to the Riviera Cafe. So I listened to, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 songs max.
Was there a lot of other people? Was Harper's big for country night?
Oh, it was super popular. The people that know Harper's, the line was backed up to past 7-Eleven, that intersection, right in front of Hot Cap.
So busy.
It was busy.
And you stayed for 15 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I
was in there by myself, so.
And then you went to the Riviera.
Then I went to the Riviera Cafe to meet up with the rest of the friends.
It just is further proof, I think, that our Western bar idea would really be a big hit.
It would hit. It would. I'm looking at properties, see if we can find anything around here, and then we would take off to the moon. We could have our live podcast there on the second floor of the bar, Alex.
Yeah, what could we knock down? What around there could we just take property?
We could take over.
It's just not a super profitable business.
Well,
so if you guys' goal is to
the line
make
was
money,
past the 7-Eleven.
That doesn't mean that you're profitable.
Cover was $10 and people were still going in there.
And we would let underage kids
$10 for 15 minutes, Evan. Come on. And then you get shut down, Grant. Come on.
No, because Rick's is still pumping.
Yeah, Rick's is still alive. Harper's is still alive besides Tuesday night.
Harper's did have that little thing in the news. I don't remember exactly what it was. Racist or something.
Yeah, because it was COVID. Because then everybody started bashing Harper's for people going to COVID, and then they just like deep dive into Harper's like background policies.
True.
Yeah, so that was my night. It was still fun. It was still fun because you're with your friends. But
For Easter, I was curious, do you guys have anyone in your families, like cousins or whatnot, that are at the young age where they do the Easter egg hunt? Because I haven't experienced an Easter egg hunt in at least 10 years, it feels like.
yes, I was.
This was the first one that I've been to that didn't have one.
Wow.
Grant, next year is what
I'm the oldest cousin.
2 years ago, we did a craft beer egg hunt.
Oh, wow.
So you just hide craft beers, and everybody gets the little box 6-pack, and you fill it up.
That's a really good idea. And you have to shotgun them right there, and then everyone just says what they really
just
want.
Ice somebody.
Shotgun craft beer.
Yeah.
That would be heavy.
I got to see friend of the podcast, Elder Mint Money podcast host Cody on Sunday. I forgot to mention that.
At Family Easter. I was going to mention that.
Yeah, it was a great time.
We love it.
People are probably wondering, why was he at your Family Easter, Evan?
He's trying to get into the Cadmus family. I don't blame him. Cadmus family is rich in tradition. No, I'm not dating Cody. He's dating my cousin.
For the one person out there was thinking, Evan,
yeah, one person was questioning it.
Evan and longtime listener Cody are boyfriends.
I never thought that, but alarming that you thought it.
You asked it why he was at my family Easter.
Yeah, but I knew why. I just figured you'd say because he's dating your cousin, not you.
And now for the elder
birthday
statesman,
boy.
I
don't know why you're making this. I'm 25, not 28. Grant pretends. I'm just gonna get this little rant out of the way. Grant, when you talk to him, Evan, this would apply to you as well. He thinks like me and you are like 5 years older than him because we're like 5 months older than him. He just makes it seem like all the time like we are such a big age difference.
I think if it gets under your skin this easily, I think I would keep up the joke too.
He does. He said yesterday a good 7 times the 28 joke. I'm 25.
But every time I got a response,
you're turning 30 in August. So
yes, the big 30. Don't I look young? It's a compliment.
No. So weekend, Easter, obviously. I know I chopped my grandparents for Thanksgiving meals. And then I went to that grandparents for Easter. There was mac and cheese. First time ever. Wonder if they heard that. I don't know.
They might have.
But there was mac and cheese.
Ham?
There was ham. Wasn't very good.
Okay.
Throw them under the butt some more. Holy cow.
Turn it off, please.
And my grandma did burn something. I don't know what, but when I was leaving, the pan of burnt food was on the porch. And she mentioned that she burned something as I was leaving. So
a bunny.
No.
The Easter
tried
bunny.
Cooking a bunny.
No. So, but Easter was good. Saw family I hadn't seen in a while. Monday, no golf, like Evan said. Didn't do anything productive when I probably should have. And Evan, I heard you weren't going to golf anyways if there was golf.
Correct.
Oh.
Academics come first before play, Alex, as you know.
I agree.
I've always been true to my word where I always keep academics in front of anything fun. So,
you're a student.
That.
It's student athlete, not
Correct.
Athlete student.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And then yesterday, as mentioned, was my birthday. Went to dinner with my mom, dad, cousin, and my roommate got invited, unfortunately, Grant. So
where'd you go?
To Ruth Chris Steakhouse in Ann Arbor.
How good was it?
It was very, very good, I'd say. It was just top of the line food. Really enjoyed it. Grant was obsessing over Jim Harbaugh while we were there. Because there was some
Was he
Harbaugh
there?
room.
No. I mean, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. Your dad really wanted to see.
Because he knows how much you love Jimmy.
He wanted to see the Jim Harbaugh room upstairs. It's like reserved for him after games and whatnot.
So this steakhouse is like top of the line, Ann Arbor. Full-fledged Mason Blue just down your throat.
I think they keep it private, but yeah, I bet like a lot of like coaches and people with any pull probably go there upstairs and get a nice steak. I know, like I remember hearing from my time at Butler that Peyton Manning had his own room at the St. Elmo's Steakhouse. So I think it's just like a football guy thing to have your own steakhouse in the city after you win a big game.
I think if Harbaugh orders a glass of milk there, do they give it to him?
Yeah, for
probably.
sure.
They don't want to. They probably serve it in a wine glass just to try to class it up for him. Yeah.
Yeah, food was good. Steak was really good.
How'd you order it?
Medium rare for me. I got a ribeye, medium rare. It's very, very good. And then, that was about it for my birthday. And then Grant got me 2 Boston cream donuts.
Jeez.
So,
because there was a Dunkin' Donuts next to the doctor's office.
Yeah, and
I
he didn't.
saw it. I
don't
really
think he was
wanted.
going
I
to,
really
but
wanted
he-
2 for myself. What's Evan laughing at?
My mind went straight to just absolutely just when Alex started talking about what.
about a Boston cream donut.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna make a joke, but you just actually were probably serious about it. So
I was.
He actually got me 2
I
Boston
believe it,
cream
yes.
donuts.
I was eating the first one on the way back. I had to eat it in the car before I got back to the apartment, and I was biting in it, and there was nothing. I'm like, "Where's the filling?" And then I took one last bite, and there was just that just hit me, and it was delicious.
Kidding me?
Get out of the gutter, you perverts! Yeah, there was
You could not have said that any
there's
more.
an absolute
perverted.
pile of cream just hiding at the end.
snuck up on him. Oh.
Yeah, it almost like
Oh man, caught
together.
No, leave it in.
Just
You
us.
should leave it in.
This
That
is like
is
going to be
funny.
some beliefs with us just laughing. But to get back on track, the reason some people are like, Grant, what a terrible human being and roommate you are for only getting your roommate 2 Boston creams. I got Alex one of the most thoughtful gifts of all time last year, and he said, "Why'd you do that? Now I have to get you a gift." So I took that as like a statement as to just really meet the bare minimum expectations. What did I get him?
bought
I got
me
him
3
Cap-
Captain America golf balls.
got him a sleeve of Captain America golf balls.
Yeah.
He loves Marvel. They're sweet.
Okay.
I think
So yeah,
that's-
that was my birthday. Nothing crazy, just another day.
No, just some Boston cream. All right. Well, after that hard laugh, there's water in my eyes. The NBA playoffs. We can any storylines that stand out to you, or just straight up picking our teams. We can do it any way we want. But yes, the first round has started, but not.
You
much.
don't want to mention the breaking Jay Wright news.
Jay Wright is stepping down as Villanova's coach. I mean,
Don't care.
it's surprising.
Fat to the bone.
I just didn't think, and with this jam-packed draft show, I just didn't feel like sliding her in there. But yeah, he did step down.
NBA storylines.
I like the playoffs much more than the regular season. I enjoy watching some of the
Yes.
games.
I've actually sat down and watched NBA games already.
Yeah.
I watched the Nets and Celtics game. I watched the Warriors and Nuggets first 2 games, or partly of the second game. Watch all of the first game. So I just like now I get to showcase the stars for each team, and can the 1 seed or the top seeds actually make it far, because there's some decent lower seeds. And I'm awfully cheering. I'm cheering just against Philadelphia. I hope they lose every single game.
Does
I can
anyone
get-
really like Philadelphia?
I can get behind it. I don't like James Harden. I don't
James
really like
Harden
Embiid
either.
I don't care for Embiid that much. He's kind of
No.
funny, I guess, but I don't know. And I also, to tie it into the Pistons, I do enjoy watching the playoffs because it helps me. I was thinking about this last year. It helps me think of like what missing pieces we need. because there's a lot of regular season players in the NBA that get all those accolades and 20-point scores. Like if you look at the list of guys that average 20 points in the NBA, it's way more than you would think. But then you get to the playoffs and you realize what you really need to win a championship. And I like knowing that and having a good feel for what wins in the postseason for when the Lions make transactions. Like, okay, is this guy going to be a 20-point regular season scorer and disappear in the playoffs? Or is he going to be someone that can actually help us?
Like Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson
having 40 in a playoff game.
Yeah. No, that's a guy. It's like, hey, he'd look really good in blue and red next year. But when you score 41 points in a playoff game, you're going to make us have to pay a lot more money. So maybe chill out, Jalen, or come back, Luka, because we don't need him to showcase everything right now. I'm also starting to become a little bit, we talked about this in our group chat, but I'm starting to become a little bit more skeptical of Donovan Mitchell if he were ever to be a trade candidate. Like he's got a little bit of
Russell. Weird. That's quite the 180.
I've just been watching him. I still think
in a week.
I still think if you get him away from Gobert, it would be better. But he does have a little Russell Westbrook in his game, which worries me. But that was my transition to some of the West storylines. Is I think the Utah Jazz need to blow this thing sky high because I don't think they're going to figure out anything with this core, and they've been running it back year after year now, and I don't see any good result from the current Utah Jazz core.
No, I think it's tough to be good in Utah.
I think they will blow it up though because they just got new ownership. So like,
they're pretty.
Does the ownership really want to do all that, or they want to just keep on winning and just making money for as long as it's
being
possible?
A 5 to 7 seed every year.
I mean,
doesn't sound
2
that
seed,
bad.
Aren't they? 1 seed,
I mean, Alex,
they're
like they were the 1 seed, weren't they last year? Or they've been
but seed. Like in my mind, they're
Suns are the 1 seed.
The same as a 5 because they like lose in the first or second round every time.
And you talk about, you kind of said they're like hard beating the Jazz. Like they were pretty solid during the Jordan era. Like they have some prestige to that organization. It's not like they just have never fielded a contender.
They can contend. They just don't win.
A lot of teams didn't win in the 90s with Michael Jordan.
Wow. Bummer.
West teams, 2 teams that I think it's tough. I like Golden State a lot. I like Memphis a lot. They're probably on a crash course in this playoffs, assuming Memphis handles their business.
Next round.
The death lineup of Clay, Steph, Draymond, Wiggins, and Poole is really fun to watch. It reinvigorated kind of like the love I had for them when they burst on the scene in 2015 and whatnot, when I was solely rooting for them just to beat LeBron. But then I started to love how they played basketball. That kind of lineup is back, so I really like them. And then Memphis-wise, just I like to root for my cousin who is affiliated with them, and also they did sign Sean McDermott. I don't think he's still on the team, but I have a soft spot for them for doing that. And I just like, who doesn't like Ja? Everyone loves Ja Morant. So those 2 teams would probably be the main contenders of who I'm going to be pulling for. I have not decided yet who I'd pull for in a series, but
so wait, we get to pick 2 teams from each conference.
No, there's no rules about it. I don't really have an East team that I enjoy.
Well, I like the Suns because I have been a Chris Paul fan my entire life.
Yeah, you're a Suns guy. I think you were last year.
I'm a Chris Paul guy. Booker out for the next few games.
You're probably a Lakers guy.
No, I declared in our chat last year when LeBron did something dumb that I was out. So Suns, and then obviously going to root for my guys, Jaren Jackson and Tillman on the Grizzlies. So that's where my West allegiance lies.
Nice.
And Draymond too. If he's the last one, then the Warriors are team 3 by default.
You're leaving a guy out. I mean, I know he's not a big name, but I don't want him to feel left out.
Do you want to say it?
No. You say it.
Who's left from Michigan State in the West?
Yeah. Oh wow! I did not mean to. I didn't mean to embarrass you like that. No, this got weird. I'll tell you, if there was a Butler guy in the,
I'm just trying to think of the playoff teams, man. There's
Evan's staying quiet. Does Evan know? Could Evan rescue him?
Well, the guy that's on Denver right now.
Yes, Evan knows.
I don't.
Oh my god!
Bryn's playing for Denver right now.
Oh, it's because he got traded.
Oh,
He was in the East. I forgot he got traded. He's been on like 5 teams in the last
Didn't
2
forget.
years.
You just didn't pay attention.
I thought he was still in the Bucks. If we're
You're just
being
as
honest,
bad as every uneducated Twitter fan.
just thought he was still in the Bucks.
Okay, Evan. Any teams that
I'm
got your
still
eye on?
gonna ride with Giannis. I like
Bucks.
his game. I'm just that guy. You know, he's a different athlete, plays a different game than everybody else. Yeah, they're the defending champions, but I've liked Giannis since he took over the league, so I'll ride there. Cheering against Philadelphia. Don't really care for Brooklyn too much.
Like that.
I am a KD fan, but something
Not
about
a
that.
Kyrie fan. Ugh.
It's just all the drama. I don't need that either. Yeah, there's not really that many sexy teams that like stand out. I enjoy watching the Warriors, like you guys said, and then Suns. I wouldn't mind seeing them do well again because Devin Booker's from Grand Rapids. So
Yeah. For any East things, I mean, I don't really have any. Like I said, I am a massive KD fan, but I despise Kyrie Irving, so that kind of neutralizes my cheering for them. I liked when KD was doing himself last year, but when you add in Kyrie, I just cannot stand him. And then this might be sacrilegious to fans of our dad's age, but
I like the Celtics.
I like Tatum and Brown because as we've grown up, we haven't been rivals with the Celtics. We haven't been good at the same time they've ever been good. We've crossed paths. So they're kind of like enough. I just like enjoy that young duo. And I like Daniel Tice. I like the grittiness of Boston. So I enjoy that. But I'm not going to, I would take Golden State or Memphis as like rooting over them. But that's just what I'm keeping my eye on in the first round.
Yeah, I don't really care for any of these teams at all. So I'm just rooting for the teams I said in the West.
Yeah.
And I do like Giannis as a person and a player. So if the Bucks were to get out of there, and some random West team made it, I'll root for the Bucks.
All right. Good to know. Now, the draft. Put the NBA aside. It's kind of crazy how dominant the NFL is, that the draft is so much more important than playoff basketball right now. The behemoth. It's going to be in Las Vegas. It's going to be awesome. Let's start with the rumors. Have you guys seen any rumors?
yeah, there were rumors blowing up late last week.
Yeah, I have a rumor.
Early this week.
Lay some rumors on me.
Lions traded all their first round picks for Deebo. It just hasn't come public yet.
All of them? That's way too much.
You guys want to get into the big Deebo? I got it as my top rumor. The simple question: do you want him as a Detroit Lion?
Sure. Who wouldn't want a great football player? You didn't say the price.
I would take him, yes, but there are some.
You're supposed to give the price, Alex.
Value.
I gave the price earlier in the group chat.
So that's what you would give up.
That's what I saw in an article that it would.
Well, I don't want Bleacher Report's takes. I want Alex. You look at our picks because you know what we have.
I gotta look what I said,
and you tell me what you want to give up. That's what I'm interested in.
Value, and then also with him, like the fallout that's happening and for the 49ers, the rumors of falling out for 49ers. So some are saying it's money, some are not saying it's money. It's kind of more like scheme and how he's being used. So you would have to like ask him, like, how do you want to be used? And you have to like basically set the offense around like a slot wide receiver, which hasn't really
probably say
done
that he
before.
Wants to be wide out only. I'm guessing he doesn't like taking carries.
I would say that too. I would say he wants to be wide receiver 1, because if you kind of label him as kind of just like a utility player, his money or his worth isn't going to be as high.
Yep. And he's going to get hit more. And
contract stipulations, you'd be like, oh, well, we used you for 40% of run snaps. So your money, you should be, 40, 60.
What if we were just assuming it dead wrong? And he's like, no, I want to be RB1. I want 30 carries.
Could be. That would be stunning. But
like, yes.
I said earlier, 32, 34, and a 2023 pick.
That's a lot.
Wait, 2023? What round?
2023 fourth round pick.
Are you doing that if that comes across your desk?
Can you tell me who we take it to in this hypothetical?
You take a defensive player.
Well, you're the GM, Alex.
Oh, I'm the GM.
If you got Deebo, then
I think I'm going to do it.
You wouldn't. If you had Deebo, you probably wouldn't draft any offense for the first 4 rounds.
I could just draft defense the rest of the way.
The problem is we don't have a.
So you're gonna
pick.
Yeah, you're gonna pick second, and you're gonna pick 66 in the draft
and 97s. Still 3 top 100 picks.
Yeah,
you're gonna take 2.
Although you are getting Deebo, who's already like.
And you're getting, yes, a already elite football player. It's not like you're just only getting a couple picks now.
All right. That was a good take on like what he brings and all that. I'll give you the negative side of why I don't really want to even touch him.
What if he was free?
He's not, because you have to pay the man. That's the whole point. That's why he's leaving.
Big contract. Well, it said he wasn't leaving because of money. That was what Ian Rappaport said.
Okay. I'm sure money's involved.
Wow.
And I was going on this. And I wouldn't even 32-34 is way too much, because the beauty of this crazy NFL offseason is we have history of receivers this big getting traded just like a month ago. And the Packers received like the 22nd pick in the draft and then some pick in the 50s. So I think you add 32 and 34. I think that's too much. I think
that is way too much value. They got Devontae Adams, who's best wide receiver.
Yeah. So
the best wide receiver.
What I would say was like a ballpark trade. If this came up, I'd think about it. It'd be the 32nd pick, so you get that first rounder, which is basically a second rounder, and then the 66th pick, so your best third round pick. Those two in a package, plus you having to pay him, would be like, okay, that's the deal that's being made. Why I would still hesitate to do it, because this man's about to get paid $25 million-ish a year. That is about what he's going to make. The highest paid receiver right now was Tyreek Hill. He just got $30 million a year. And Devontae Adams commanded $28 million. DeAndre Hopkins makes $27 million. Stephon Diggs makes $24 million. Deebo's going to get paid in that range. He's a fresh 26 years old. He's like 26 and 95 days is what I read. So you're going to do like probably a 4-year deal. So you're going to have him until he's 30, but you're going to have some prime years there, obviously. This is my fear, because I've had this theory, but I want to flesh it out a little bit. I always get a little worried about when like teams are paying a guy that much money. So I was just for a wideout. So I was looking up big name wide receivers that this list I made. Okay. And we'll get some commonalities and some outliers. So DeAndre Hopkins makes $27 million a year. DJ Moore makes 21. These are not in order necessarily, but they're like all the top guys. DJ Moore makes 21 million. Keenan Allen makes 20 million. Amari Cooper makes 20 million. Michael Thomas makes 20 million. Odell Beckham was making 18 million with the Giants back before the market got crazy. Julio Jones made a rare 22 million because he was so freaky. Stephon Diggs got paid 24 million. Tyreek Hill was making 18 million with the Chiefs. The only player on that list that has won a Super Bowl is Tyreek Hill, making $18 million with the Chiefs. Odell took a $1 million contract to win a Super Bowl with the Rams. Cooper Kupp, the Super Bowl MVP, that's the argument. Like he was huge. He's making like 14 million. Like he's not making that elite money because it gives you flexibility. I just feel like I've seen guys, like when I think about Super Bowl champions, I don't automatically think of like a premier wide receiver that's getting paid over $20 million being the reason for it. Now, a fair counter is Julio Jones, Grant, should have won a Super Bowl. Fine. That's fine. That's a fair counter argument. But it just makes me worried giving that much money to a wideout.
The counter is what you have as a team already. It could make sense if you're a receiver away from winning the Super Bowl. In the Lions sense, they're 30 guys away. So then I agree with you. You don't need to blow your wad on a receiver. But it makes sense for some teams to go all in on a receiver. When Tom Brady was in New England a few years ago, they should have, and they didn't. And then they rotted. So, and they left.
I wouldn't even say they should have. They won plenty.
No, I'm saying at the end when they sucked and they lost to Tennessee in the first round. And they had the worst receivers in the league.
Yeah.
And they still don't have a receiver.
I think it's just the NFL's changing now to where like the value for the wide receiver is way more than it used to be in the past. And that's why like wide receiver now is the second highest paid annually in the NFL behind the quarterback. It used to be quarterback tackle, and edge rusher. Now wide receiver, I believe, is number 2 average annual salary. It jumped edge rusher, it jumped tackles. The Bengals had success recently. The Rams, who just won the Super Bowl, they kind of look to make makeshift offensive lines. And you might start seeing teams not value the tackle position or take like a late round guy and just develop them instead of paying $20 million, $18.9 million for a left tackle that came from Ohio State that's below average.
Taylor Decker.
That sounded so specific.
That's taking up way too much cap for a team that is rebuilding that needs that cap space. And so there's give and take per situations. And I think each situation is different. Yes, Deebo Samuel will help us, but you make valid points of both of you of like, do the Lions really need Deebo right now, or we can give up too much?
Will say also, watching the Lions last year and that receiving core, other than Amon-Ra's like last 8 games, no separation ever, no one ever open, and made Jared Goff look even worse than he already is. So having bad receivers is like glaring and terrible, and you will be much worse if your receivers suck. So
agreed.
You do need someone good.
You do.
You still need to draft someone if you don't get Deebo in a hypothetical scenario.
Well, and DJ Chark is going to be, all pro basically, but
if he's healthy, he could be decent.
Sure. Deebo got hurt his second season in the leagues.
Deebo has injury problems too. There's risks associated with him. I think he's played 1 full season.
And like the last thing that I thought of too is like, it's kind of telling that Green Bay and Kansas City were so willing to get rid of their star receivers. And those are pretty well-run franchises. Now, people can joke about the Packers not capitalizing on Aaron enough, but they like know how to be contenders. They've been contenders through 2 whole quarterbacks. Alex?
There's just one like key thing about those 2 teams is they have the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So they are comfortable just like filling in receivers. They don't need a number 1 guy for their already elite quarterback who makes everyone good around them.
I think the Packers situation is a little bit weird because the whole, past drafts, like, they need a second wide receiver, and then they just get rid of the best wide receiver. And now they both have to draft a wide receiver in the first round. That's what they're going to need. They both have 2
going
picks.
to too.
Correct. But they also have glaring needs on both sides of the ball for each team. So which one?
I just think it helps when you have a elite quarterback. You're not as worried about having a $25 million receiver.
And the Chiefs' fairness, they have Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the game, probably you could argue the best tight end of all time. Yeah. To where and then they have like role players at running back that do so well with minimum money. I just think the Packers situation is way different.
Packers are a weird front office as well. I've never understood what they're doing.
I trust though. I know the quarterback thing, but I like when they were willing to get rid of them, it's like, okay, the Dolphins and the Raiders are clown franchises right now. And it's like, those guys are like, oh yeah, we'll take the big guy and like pay him like boatloads of money, like 30 mil a year, 28 mil a year. So then I don't really want to be like one of those teams right now. I'd rather try to find that quarterback and then we can figure out and go from there. But I feel like you take him now, you are going to lose Goff's contract, but it's going to make it harder to resign, hopefully, our franchise quarterback when you have a 30-year-old Deebo Samuel still making $25 million a year. And you're like, geez, this contract stinks right now.
Also, with the window, you're going to have a rookie quarterback for cheaper for a little bit. So it might make sense to pay a wide receiver during that time.
4 years. If you draft him in the first round, you get that 5th-year option on him. So.
Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think this 49ers didn't even say they're willing to trade him. So it's not.
It's true. That does get lost in the sauce, but they probably will because then they're going to see how much they can get. And if he just sits out, then it's like, well, I wish we would have traded him. Now let's pivot into actual more nitty gritty draft stuff. I had our biggest needs because you know how every draft site just lists what are the Lions' needs, but sometimes I'd like for us just what do we actually think this team needs the most? I'd like to start there before we get into because that'll kind of shape what we think this team, who they should draft is based off of their needs. So I'll open it up to you guys. What are the biggest needs position wise that you think this team is desperate for?
You can go first, Evan.
Do you do 1-by-1 positions or just any position that we think?
There's several, so we can just bounce them.
You pick one, and then we can kind of hop around.
Okay. Biggest need.
There's two of them that come to my mind right away. I would say linebacker first, an athletic linebacker that can run sideline to sideline. There's one that I'm in love with.
Me too.
Good teases. I like
yes, but I think linebacker getting athletic there, you see a lot of teams are dominating. They have a very good, solid middle linebacker.
I'll go edge rushers. You need a dominant edge rusher in this league.
I got something to back up Evan's point, and then yours too, Alex, because I had both those. Linebacker, we had the most missed tackles in the league last year at 132. The best team in the league was the Broncos, only had 84. So you talk about a gap of 50 missed tackles from, I'm not going to name names, but guys just kind of roaming around out there, just whiffing. So yes, linebacker. I'm not going to name the linebackers. When you
Jamie Collins.
Now, Derek Barnes could be sweet, but when you look at the starting depth chart of Derek Barnes and Anzalone, I think you could definitely use some linebackers there. Edge rusher for you, Alex. 2021 QB pressures, which is
probably dead last.
which is QB hurries, knockdowns, and sacks all combined into one. We were the third worst team with 124 total. The Bucs led the league with 219. They almost had 100 more QB pressures than we had as a team.
What's your position? That's disgusting. I want to move on from that grossness.
Strong safety, because I think free safety, we got our guy Tracy Walker. Safety, here's a stat for that. Our average depth of target against us, passing-wise, was 8.7 yards per target. It's the worst in the NFL. So if you wanted to go downfield, we were the team to do so against. That means you're basically giving up, catches around already 9 yards downfield as opposed to closer to the line of scrimmage. I think bolstering the site, you could even combine that in a cornerback a little bit, but we do have.
You could also argue that that's due to the lack of pass rush.
Yes, they go hand in hand, obviously. Yeah, and I do think we have a little bit of talent, at least in our secondary. We have some on the edge, but we definitely need more on the edge to get home.
To back up Alex's stat, the Lions have drafted one edge player in the top 100 since 2015.
That is gross.
Who is it?
That's one player drafted. I does not give the name. So that's one
2015
since 2015. No, it's not. Ziggy Ansah got drafted from yesterday. You'll see 2013. So it's 22 picks. We drafted one. We've ranked in the bottom 3 in pressures the last 3 years.
It's disgusting.
We don't get home.
It's because Matt Patricia didn't like sending people.
He didn't believe in he thought the secondary should hold up for 15 seconds and then we'll get home. Like what a fat tub of lard.
Next position of need, Evan.
Next position of need.
If there's any.
Yeah. The thing with the Lions now recently, you could make an argument, you could draft almost any single position and you'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I could see it. You could argue it. Yeah, there's gonna be some haters, but you can argue it. I'll say athletic wide receiver. I don't really care about this whole, he's on the outside, he plays slot. Nowadays, they move so much that it doesn't really matter to me. If you can run routes, you can run routes. So I would say just another athletic wide receiver that can create separation on his own.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That was my number one offensive need.
Agreed.
And to me, it doesn't really matter where I'm such we need to fix the defense first. It doesn't really matter to me where I draft them. I think there's a lot of talented guys. It's just that this draft, there's so much talent at the top of the wide receivers that it would suck to miss out on one of them.
Now, if we're going long, I 100% agree. If we're going long term, the team's biggest need is a quarterback, but that may not apply to this year's draft because none of the defensive stuff really matters if we don't have a good quarterback. So that is still looming over our heads during this draft.
You could make a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. It's actually a fact. So you don't need a quarterback better than Jared Goff. You can make a Super Bowl. It's very
an offensive genius.
We won't win
coach.
It. We'll put up 6 points.
Ben Johnson to Sean McVay.
I didn't say we'd win. I'd say we could get there.
I disagree with you. I think that should be still. I think you gotta have the coaching staff for that.
We have Ben Johnson, football wizard.
Okay, so this is cutesy fun hour where we just say egregious things.
Sure, I can go next. We need a running back.
I don't have any more position needs. I'm curious. Why do you think
I didn't either. I just
I
said
do.
that because I
I
was
do.
out of positions. Tight end, maybe a backup.
Yes, we do need a tight end, but I was thinking more offensive guard. I'm tired of seeing Vaitai.
He redeemed himself last
No, he
year.
didn't. No.
We could use another guard.
I would
All right.
say offensive line help because we got depleted. Didn't play well. I think Jonah Jackson can be a starter at that, just like our
I think he's
bottom
good.
offensive lineman. And it probably hurt him that we didn't have Frank Ragnow all year. So
That's right, we didn't.
our top three offensive linemen, they never played one snap fully together last year in a game.
The dream team.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to trade DeAndre Swift and draft Kenneth Walker.
No, Kenneth Walker's probably gonna go in the top 60, so I wouldn't.
So we trade Swift and 34 for Deebo, and then draft Kenneth at 32.
I don't think we're getting better if we just get rid of Swift.
You just don't re-sign like Swift when it comes to shove, and you pay for a Chase Edmonds. I mean, you can get like middling running backs any offseason you want.
Yeah,
I just like my guy Kenneth.
Of course you do.
Good player.
I just need Swift to be used more. Jamal Williams,
be
love the
healthier.
guy. I need him used less. I just don't need him to be taking the first handoff of the game. I simply don't.
I also don't need Dan Campbell to run the ball 65 times in a game.
Well, Jared Goff is our quarterback. It might be the best way to win.
He didn't have receivers. We had Kadarius Hodge catching balls last year.
Oh, he had a
Kadarius Hodge.
He hit a receiver, all right.
He had one, and he found him at the end of the year, and it worked out. We won like 2 games.
To hammer home the defensive point before we move on to our kind of ideal scenarios, the defense tied for third worst in the league in giving up touchdowns, 31 touchdowns given up. Last year, the Bills gave up 12 in 17 games, which is
12?
insane. They gave up 12 touchdowns. We gave up 31. I think the most was 34.
12 is
They gave up
crazy.
12?
Yeah.
They gave up 5 to Jonathan Taylor.
They gave up 12 touchdowns.
So they gave up
So they
7
gave up
in
7
16 games.
in 16 games. Insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
No, I'm not saying we need to get to
You're
that,
sure
but
that's
if we
What did they win?
Yes, I
60 to
was looking-
7 every game?
I don't know.
There were games people didn't score then.
They blew out a lot of teams.
And
7.
they lost to Jacksonville.
Yeah. That was
I don't
wasn't that
believe
that
this
was a
stat.
7-6 game.
Where did you get this?
Pro Football Reference. I was like, you could probably just Google though, like touchdowns given up, but that should be pretty easy to find. Just like team statistics. You have 12. The Packers were pretty low there too. I mean, some teams were below 20.
12 and 16 games.
No, yeah, I'm not 17 games.
So they scored what? How many?
I'm
That's
not saying
insane.
I'm not saying we need to get to that level, obviously, but
How
I'm
many-
saying
okay, so-
They had to win like 30
I'm
to
so
3 every
lost in
game.
my sauce with like the numbers now because I said they gave up 5 to Jonathan Taylor. So what was the actual number in 17
I'm going
games?
through every single week.
Alex,
No.
just sort by
No, I want to see how they were winning every game.
just sort by like team
And they
touchdowns.
also have like the
given
best
up.
quarterback in the game right now. Somebody that I would give up my franchise to have him. I like a running mobile quarterback, and him just running power sweeps it just makes me happy.
There is a
on the
running
inside.
quarterback in this draft.
They gave up
Maybe we
2 in week 1 and 3 in week 3. So they already gave up 5 through 3 weeks. And they gave up 0 in week 2. And then 0 in week 4. And then 2 more in week 5. There's no way this is true.
can- just telling you.
They
It
gave up
is-
31 points against Tennessee in week 6.
Could
That's
have been
already
defensive
like-
touchdowns, Alex. Could have been defensive touchdowns.
They did lose to the Jags 9-6.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't believe this.
Why
stat.
why don't you okay, whatever. You can keep let's go to ideal scenarios in the draft. What is your ideal scenario, Evan, for the Lions? You can just be like first round maneuvers or the kind of top 3 picks, which are the headliners. Like what is ideal? What would be like, wow, Brad Holmes is really in his bag tonight or leading up to it?
Ideal scenario is you trade back, get somewhere in the
I'm curious what you say. Yeah. What
7 to 11 range, somewhere around there. Nothing too far back, because then like the drop off in some talent and like the position of value is you're losing it. But I'm all about like capital, getting guys. I don't think the Jets are going to move up. I don't think the Giants are going to move up. They both have 2 in the top 10. I don't think Houston will want to move up 1 spot. I think they're at 3 and 13. I don't see those teams moving up. Because then Kansas City has 2 way late.
Green
Green
Bay's
Bay
got
has
2
2
late.
way late. I wanted to say Philadelphia did have 3, but then they have 2 and the Saints have 2.
Saints have 2.
So there's teams there. Yeah, they're in the middle of the round. I would agree with it because there's players there that I'm in love with. So I would say trade back for. I don't think Philadelphia's going to move again. So let's say the Saints, and then you have 4 picks inside the top 34. I think that would be an ideal situation because this talent on the roster just isn't good enough still. I think just all about accumulating as much talent as possible. This is going to better the rebuild.
It's interesting there because when you see the teams that have 2, the Saints scares me a little bit just because your first pick's not till 16, but having 4 in the top 34, like you said, is nice. I put trade back with a team in the top 8 was kind of the range. I still want to get an elite guy. And then with that, you pick up another second rounder and a third rounder, at least to make the numbers work and the value. But then you have 2 first rounders still. You'd have 2 second rounders and 3 third rounders. Sounds pretty nice to try to like get guys in. Cause like a big thing with the draft is just having a bunch of swings and potential misses, but then enough hits, cause it seems like this is like a deeper draft. I know there's been a lot of comparisons to it being similar to that 2013 draft we ran into when we were doing our worst draft picks of just like not a lot of no QBs really, a lot of just depth, but not a lot of great talent at the top, but then you find gems later. So maybe that's a situation. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but that's why it's ideal kind of dreaming scenario.
If we did trade back with somebody in the first round, I think we would get more than 2 first round picks. Just like if we trade with the Saints, they don't have that many picks left. Hypothetically, but I think we would get more in return than just swapping our second overall pick with their 16th or whatever they have. Because they traded.
You get like 16 and 19 in that situation.
Yes. I feel like we would get more because like Philadelphia traded with them and they got a bag. There's another team that traded and I felt like they got rewarded handsomely. I had it on the top of my head.
Supply and demand, though.
You get the team's first round pick that you're trading with, and then like for example, let's say you trade. I don't know who's 8, but let's say you trade 8. You get 8,
Giants,
and then you get a second round pick and maybe a third to like make it work. But yeah. Alex,
I agree. First of all, the Buffalo Bills gave up 32 touchdowns last year, so I don't know what you're reading, but they did not give up 12. The Lions gave up.
I have to double check here.
52. And the Bills gave up 32. So Bills were still number 1 in the league, but not 12.
Offensive touchdowns, though, Alex. Offensive touchdowns.
So you think they gave up 20?
Or did they score 52?
20 pick sixes, fumble recoveries. Jesus Christ, Evan, come on. No, I'm on Stat Muse. But anyways,
we'll chop Pro Football Reference.
Yeah, it's a bad, inaccurate stat. I went through the games too, so it made no sense how it would be 12. But I agree. Trading back would be cool and ideal. I'm more on Grant's side. I'd want to stay in the top 10 just to get someone elite level, but would be totally fine with what Evan said as well. So trading back is the ideal scenario. That is not going to happen. So
you think there's no chance?
It's fun to speculate, but you guys really hammered it home, so I don't have too much else to add.
And if we're picking it too, for me, ideally, I would like Hutchinson to be there. Oh, the Bills gave up 12 passing touchdowns. Damn it. That makes sense.
Yeah, 20. Wow.
That's still, we have 31 then. Okay, so it was passing touchdowns. Still a lot though. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
it makes a lot more sense.
Bad side, nightmare scenarios. Where are you like, oh God, I feel bad about what
nightmare
scenario? Oh,
Sauce Gardner at 2 would be like, what the are we doing? Taking a corner again in the top 3? I would lose my mind at any corner in the top 3. That's like the panic mode scenario for me.
Okay.
Or a running back. I mean, that would be so absurd. But that would never happen.
Yeah.
Mine's drafting Malik Willis at 2.
No, Evan.
Yes, it would be the worst.
You can find a way to believe in that.
No, I wouldn't.
It feels mean because you could have picked like a much worse quarterback at 2. You could have picked like draft Kenny Pickett.
But that's what everyone is like the favorite for. It's like
I know what you're saying.
The value at number 2 and where he is projected, I don't think it's a right fit for that spot.
For our podcast and our streaming purposes, I hope we take Malik Willis to get your live reaction.
Malik Willis at 2, I am getting up and walking out. I will watch the pick 32 in my own apartment.
I honestly think based on your guys' rage levels, I think watching us take Sauce Gardner at 2 would be more impactful for the stream.
There's nowhere for Alex to go. There's nowhere for him to hide.
I would blow up.
Yeah, I think Alex would be really. We probably would get canceled. He'd probably say something really terrible.
I blew up when we drafted Okuda. I can't imagine what I would do the second time around. I'd flip a table.
See, my thing is, I knew we were going to draft Okuda because that's what we projected. This one, I don't know who we're going to draft. I don't even know really who the Jaguars are going to draft. Yeah, it's probably going to be.
It is exciting,
but there's rumors.
A lot of
anticipation. That it might not be him. It's I don't know who we're going to take, so I'm going to be shocked either way.
Nightmare for me is not as extreme as you guys, so it's more could actually happen, I would say. I mean, Malik Willis could happen. I don't think there's a chance we take a cornerback. If we draft...
we've been mocked Sauce Gardner a few times.
By guys that don't know how to tie their shoes or what?
Mel Kiper.
Probably the guys saying that there was only 12 touchdowns given up.
But there's also rumors that Mel Kiper doesn't really have any sources inside the NFL.
I told Grant the other day that Mel Kiper is the worst mock draft guy of all time.
He just out there and throws stuff at the wall just to
Yeah, no, he doesn't know anything.
I kind of respect.
I'm a huge Mel Kiper hater.
My nightmare would be if we draft Kayvon Thibodeau and he becomes and he becomes the next Jadeveon Clowney or Ziggy Ansah.
Well, that's looking ahead.
Yeah,
I think Evan and I were more shock value at that moment.
That's where I see
because I would be totally fine if Gardner turned into Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, no, I rather would take Sauce Gardner there than Kayvon Thibodeau is what I'm getting at.
But you can't do the thing where you say he ends up as. That's not what the game is.
Why? Because I'm a scout evaluator and I think he will become that. So that's why it's a nightmare.
I wouldn't be mad.
Or if we drafted a QB not named Malik Willis, that'd be a nightmare. I could talk myself in Malik
Sam
Willis.
Howell.
But if we took Kenny Pickett or
Matt Corral
or Ritter, I would puke.
That too, yes. I mean, I would agree.
I mean, geez. We might as well go trade for Baker if we're going to do that. What are we doing?
That'd be funny. I would laugh hysterically.
Call your shots. What do you guys think will happen?
Do we get to know who the Jags take?
I think we're taking either Hutchinson or Trayvon Walker. One of those two guys will be a line with the second pick.
Fortunately, I think it's kind of written up.
I don't think
it's Walker.
I believe Breer. I don't think we're taking Thibodeau. I think the Albert Breer stuff was pretty legit. I think we're taking, if it's not Hutchinson, it's probably Trayvon Walker. Also, based on the betting odds, he's plus 220 around there. I
just don't get why we wouldn't take Thibodeau. I don't care what he says in the draft. You put on the tape, I think it's gonna be Walker. Unfortunately, he wasn't projected to be this high until the combine. I think that's why the combine's super overrated.
I did hear though that the Jacksonville guy likes him because Trent Baalke, I shouldn't say just a guy, their GM likes him because he drafted Aldon Smith in San Francisco, and people have compared Trayvon Walker to Aldon Smith quite a bit. So there might be some comfortability there where he takes him number one. Because also
the Baalke stuff is wild.
The Albert Breer report. Yeah. The Albert Breer report was that he doesn't really like anyone, but he thinks he'll be bullied if he doesn't take Hutchinson. So he's just getting peer pressured into a draft pick at 1. Because no one really wants to trade for it.
Part of me thinks we're going to do something off the wall. I'm nervous for it.
I don't think we will.
What is this organization? What is the new regime giving you any indication they're off the wall? I think they're the most straight-laced by the book people there have been.
We took Sewell and we didn't really need to take Sewell last year.
Because he fell to us. We were going to take Micah Parsons.
So you're saying you think we take Ike Ekwonu too? That'd be off the wall.
Something weird like that.
I haven't even
I haven't taken just the best available player on our board.
I haven't even watched tackles at any because I just assumed
I haven't either.
Not touching that.
That would be a big questioning moment for Brad Holmes if he did.
Well, then that would mean Decker would be out the door.
Yes,
and then it would make sense.
Who needs a tackle? Who wants a tackle?
I think we'll take Trayvon Walker or Thibodeau. Is it Thibodeau or Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Definitely Thibodeau.
All right, I think we might take him. I think
All
it's
right.
50-50 Walker Thibodeau.
Now let's each go through, let's pop through a little bit till we run out of our list, but kind of just guys you love. Let's say guys you love. We'll each give one. So 3 guys you love, and then we'll go 3 guys we don't like. We'll say hate. We don't want to be too mean. Then we'll just kind of cycle through. But Evan, you can start us off, then I'll go, then Alex. But like guy you love.
Guy I love. I love Thibodeau.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's fully represented on this show. I like it.
Yes, his side speed. Because it's all the interview and like off the field stuff. I don't really think it's that big of a deal.
You watched the Joe Klatt one, right?
Yes, I have watched Joe
that
Klatt.
one. Is awkward.
It is awkward. But I think he's just so like realizes and like that like football is kind of just like a hobby and like there's life after football, and he's one of those guys that's kind of out there in front of it, and kind of football's not his only passion. To where that's where people are like running away from him. But I think his size, speed, athleticism, got better stats. We all knew, like, if he just didn't say anything and just sat out all of Oregon last year, I think he would have been the first pick. Just didn't even say anything. This was off the radar. I was like, I'm ready for the draft. I think he would be the first pick without question. So you want 2 other guys? I mean, I'm in love with Jordan Davis. He's the best defensive tackle. I think it's unrealistic to draft him at 2. Kind of what we're saying. We do need a tackle, and I think he's the best available, or the best that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years at defensive tackle. I think he's way superior than Derek Brown, and we almost drafted Derek Brown. So, and then obviously another guy I love is Nakobe Dean, linebacker for Georgia.
Yeah.
Just speed, that guy. Leadership, kind of understands football awareness. He knows plays, and he's just a tackle machine on the best defense. So I don't think you can go wrong there.
Yeah.
It's just a value at 2. I don't think it's realistic we draft him at 2. Hopefully he falls to later in 32, 34.
That'd be nice.
I think he's worth it. Continue.
Couple guys. Wait, you're supposed to think he's worth it at
2? No.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa, that's a pivot for Alex about positional value.
That'd be crazy.
A guy I don't think we're gonna be able to draft unless we do trade back for edge would be Jermaine Johnson out of FSU.
Dude, you're just stealing my people. I told you about him 2 days ago, and now Grant likes him.
You didn't tell me about him. We watched all the highlights of like the first round draft picks.
Yeah, I told you I liked him.
And I watched him. And I was like, that guy looks pretty good for being mocked like 11th or 12th. Like,
who my guys already even said.
Well, come deep.
Wait.
Jermaine Johnson looks pretty solid if we were to trade back and want to hit the edge rushing. I do like, I won't say love, I do like Trevon Walker still. I think he's a freak. I think he's just got to be used better and like not lined up as a defensive lineman, like put him on the edge and let him win battles. So I do like him. Linebacker that's from Georgia that's not Nakobe Dean. I like Quay Walker. Quay Walker is an absolute freak. Didn't watch his highlight tape with Alex. I watched it earlier today and have been like looking at his stuff, and he just absolutely flies around, and he's like a little bit taller. I think he had 100+ tackles and had 7 missed tackles, which was the lowest rate in college football. I love that. Love that a lot. And then, I want to say one more Georgia guy, but I don't want to take all of Alex's players. So I'm going to go wide out, and it's Jahan Dotson. I think Jahan Dotson is the guy I would like at the turn there at 32 or 34. I know all the middle guys in the first round are sweet, but we're probably not going to be there because we're not going to be trading back most likely. So from where we're picking, I really like Jahan Dotson.
Okay. I mean, all the guys I'm going to say we're probably not going to draft or have an opportunity to draft. They're more like middle guys.
Just good to know you love them.
I was out for a while at the thought of him at 2, but I now enjoy Kyle Hamilton quite a bit. I was convinced he's a really good football player. Not at 2, but I like him a lot. Next, I've always liked him. Said it a while ago. Garrett Wilson. I think he's a really, really good wideout. Like him a lot. Not going to get into it because we're not going to get him. And then lastly would be, I like all the Georgia players pretty much, but Grant took some and Evan took some. So I'll go Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, the other D tackle. I think he's very underrated and very good. And he's also super athletic. He's just not Jordan Davis, so he gets overlooked.
I would look into that. There's something came out I saw today that flashed up as a headline today, something about why he's falling in the draft board.
No.
Oh no.
I don't know what it was. I didn't click on it, but I saw a quick headline saying
I'll
Devontae
find
Wyatt.
it.
If we're just to be the Georgia show, I like the safety from Georgia, Lewis Seen.
I was gonna say him too, but
he's a prototypical strong safety. He just lays the lumber. And then Penn State, I said John. I also like Jaquan Brisker from Penn State. Watching him play was pretty solid. So defensive wise, those are kind of the three positions. I didn't focus too much on offense for that, but anyone you
I don't
really
see anything bad about Devontae Wyatt.
anyone you don't really like?
Yes. I hate Derek Stingley.
I hate
the best corner of the last 4 years.
Yeah, I don't like
hate.
Played in the most
I don't hate him
competitive
as a
league.
person. I don't like his effort level, his motivation, all the off the field stuff. I don't like anything about it.
Can you give us
I'm out.
examples?
Quitting on his team.
He had a Liz Frank surgery on his foot.
I've heard he quit on his team. He was really good his freshman year, and he didn't get better. He got worse. He basically was like mad that they won a title. Cool.
He had to deal with Ed Ogeron.
So you like him? You take him at 2. Take him at 2.
Take him at. You're saying guys that you love that you wouldn't take at 2. I'm just saying.
I don't like him. I don't think he'll latch on in the NFL. I think he'll be a bust. I think he has character concerns.
Wow.
Huge character guy now, are we?
Well, you ask for people I don't like. I don't like him.
I mean, Michael Parsons hazed his teammates and sat out a full season.
And Alf's just sitting here over here just, we need to draft Michael Parsons.
Because he was a stud.
Derek Stingley is a stud.
He regressed as he got older.
Oh.
He did, statistically.
So did Michael Parsons because he didn't play.
Well, that's not digress.
I'll switch it to quarterback. I really don't like when I see Matt Corral mock to us at 32. I don't like that kid. I don't think he's that good.
I don't think he's a great
I think Lane Kiffin
either.
was just helping that guy through like beautiful offense, and all of his throws I saw were just like wide open. He throws weird. He throws how I used to throw to second base as a catcher, and I didn't have great arm strength, so I don't like my quarterback throwing like that. And he runs way too much. He's gonna get clocked.
Oh, he's gonna be dead.
All right. Well, I didn't want to wish that upon him, but he's.
Evan, you can go. You haven't said anyone.
Someone I don't like. Well, I already touched on it. I don't like Malik Willis.
Evan's the opposite of.
Can you at least admit he has the most? He has the most upside.
Dude, there's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
What is
Athleticism is considered upside.
He got bounced from the SEC, couldn't make it in the most competitive conference because he didn't play, so he quit there. Talking about quitting on a team. And then he went to a smaller, less superior conference. And the only reason he blew up was because of the pro day and because of the scouting combine. He threw a 70-yard pass like every quarterback should. I don't think he's going to be that good. He's not my favorite quarterback. I like quarterback that they actually produce and actually did well in college.
Fine. So if you had to pick, gun to your head, you take Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis?
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't like George Karlaftis.
Me too, Alex.
Wow.
He played at Purdue, and I don't think I've ever watched him on the field. Or if he was on the field, I don't think he played because he never stood out to me.
Against us, he had one tackle for losses the first play of the game. I don't remember the rest of the
played.
game.
I was in Purdue. I was at Ross Aid Stadium, and he played there.
Yeah. Oh, he played in that game.
See, no, I'm out. I'm out.
Didn't even know.
We get him in the third round? Sure, good value, third round. First round talent? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm out on George Karlaftis. Guy sucks.
All right.
Get a regular last name, too.
Do I have anyone?
Well, that's just mean, Evan.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Grant, you hate Leo Chanel.
Yeah.
Leo!
It just wasn't fair to him.
What he said to me.
It wasn't fair to him.
Leo Chanel is.
He's a Wisconsin linebacker.
Similar to Evan, I just don't remember really seeing him when they played him, and
I
would
don't
see
like
him
any of the
mocked.
linebackers as soon as you get past Devin Lloyd and N'Kobe Dean. You might as well
I
just
don't
not
love
draft
him. I like Quay Walker.
I think you could
Well,
take
yes,
Quay
I think
Walker,
Quay Walker.
or Christian Harris from Alabama.
What about Brian Asamoah?
Okay.
I don't really see him as
Who's
a
Brian
like,
Asamoah?
middle
Oklahoma
linebacker.
linebacker.
I see him as an
Oklahoma's
edge rusher.
linebacker? No. And
Yes, I think that guy's like a 3-4 outside linebacker.
He's undersized.
I don't hate if you want to go deep, Channing Tindall for linebacker from Georgia. I would just take him. I know like he was. I remember seeing him a lot in the Michigan game. Like that guy's flying around out there. So those guys I like. I don't really have any other guys I really don't like. I mean,
I do.
some guys deeper, but
Rip him off, Alex. Let's go.
Boye Mafe from Minnesota. I think he stinks.
Oh, jeez.
you think he stinks? I think
I think he's
well,
not worth
In
32 or
Alex's
34.
defense, he is a Senior Bowl guy where he was like one of the best players at the Senior Bowl. And Lions fans should know like drafting somebody just based off the Senior Bowl doesn't work out.
No.
But I think he's more talented than you think, Alex. You didn't watch that many Minnesota games.
I would
No,
say
I didn't, but
But
I
I'll say
watched his
this:
YouTube video.
if we were to take Malik Willis at 2, I think you have to take either him or Ojabo at 32 or 34. Like you got to get some edge rusher guy. So I would.
Is Ojabo still going to get drafted that high, even though he just
I
blew
don't
out
want
his Achilles
Ojabo
like a
at
month
32.
ago?
I don't know. I don't know. He's
Too much
Everything
of a
that I'm
risk.
seeing mocked, like everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to fall to like the 3rd round now. That he doesn't have Achilles." Everything I'm seeing mocked is 2nd round guaranteed.
3rd round would be take it, but on the big board, I mean, maybe it hasn't updated a ton. He's still like towards the top of the 2nd round.
What do you think of Daxton Hill, Evan?
I think he's too undersized for a safety. I don't know if that's just like
I think he's
He'd
supposed
have
to play
to be
corner in the NFL.
He'd have to be like our free safety, but we have Tracy
have a
Walker.
free
So I don't
safety,
think he'd be
yes.
great for us. We need a hard hitting guy, but he's definitely versatile and can like check faster.
he could
slot
cover
receiver.
different guys for sure. I just don't see him like when I picture safety. I see like a bigger body, 6'2",
Oh, he's
downhill,
no-
going to lay the boom.
He's no Kyle Hamilton, 6'4", like
Yes, so, like-
20.
That's why I'm like getting away from him. And then there's like obviously like Jaden Reed catching the ball at like the 2-yard line over him. And there's a little like hatred that we played at Michigan, but
Sleeper guy that could be good. Another Penn State guy, Arnold Ibikiti. He was sweet against Michigan, so I'm going off of just that game alone.
Temple
was all.
transfer.
He had like 9 pressures in that game, and I was like, God, this guy's just in Kate's butt all game. So he's good, but I don't really have anyone else that.
I don't
can't
like
think of
Tyler
anything else, but
Linderbaum.
he's undersized.
You don't like
solid at
Linderbaum?
Iowa.
Linderbaum's
Small,
a dog.
dude.
Linderbaum's a dog.
It's teeny tiny.
Linderbaum is a dog.
So is Brian Allen. He's the starting center for the Super Bowl champions.
And he
How-
made some glaring mistakes in that Super
That
Bowl.
was only in the Tampa Bay game.
How far does Kyle Hamilton need to drop for you to want us to draft him?
6.
I said anywhere past 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd take him at
That's-
6.
Oh man, I said get him outside the top 10. So like the value was like his value was just greater at that point.
You know, his latest
I,
mock
thought,
is
I was thinking
go
the same,
11.
just top 5.
He is supposed to go outside the top 10 now, but I just think it's too risky to wait.
I don't think he'll get outside the top 10 though.
I don't think he'll get outside the top
And as
8.
long as we have Aaron Glenn, dude, Aaron Glenn's like, well, no one knows where to play him. Aaron Glenn will know where to play him. He'll have him
Right.
all over our defense. And then Aaron Glenn will get hired for a head coaching job and then we'll be screwed, but we'll enjoy it for his first year. So he'll have a foundation. And he's an instant strong safety. Figure that position out, and then you can start messing with him wherever you want. But he'll
Nowadays,
be
I don't know
great-
why you need to put like somebody in a position. Like you
Correct.
have to label him and like you can only leave him, he can only play that position.
That's how I feel about the whole thing of like, oh, the Lions need an X receiver so bad. It's like just like have some sweet receivers.
Correct.
It's like positionless basketball.
It's like that's why like people were saying Isaiah Simmons wasn't gonna be good because he doesn't have a true position. It's like you can never have too many athletes on your field.
I wanted him bad that year.
Wanted them bad.
Bad. I still do.
Dude, the Lions team would be so
Good
much better
riddance,
if they
Uncle
just
Joe.
let us 3 just draft over the last 5 years.
100%. I would have
At least-
drafted Mahomes.
At least in the beginning rounds. Maybe towards the later, we won't know what we're talking
We had
about.
Stafford.
I would have taken Mahomes that year.
Last listener one, real quick, is: would you rather take a flyer on Baker Mayfield for cheap
No.
or draft a QB? If you draft someone, who and with what pick?
I'm staying away from Baker.
I'm drafting.
You just
and
have
I'm
to pay him
taking
in a
Malik
year.
Willis at 2.
Oh,
If
Alex,
I
no,
had,
you're not.
Because I'm not just going to sit back and take Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder at 32.
If it's
or
like
Sam Howell.
If it's gun to your head for like you take Baker or you have to draft a QB, I would draft Malik Willis at 2 if I had to. I don't want to, but I would rather to do that than take Baker.
I would not take Baker, and I would draft a QB at 32 or 34.
I just feel like if you're doing that, you're basically taking Baker.
I am not thinking about a quarterback at number 2 at all.
I think Kenny Pickett.
I'm not either. I'm just in this hypothetical.
I think Kenny Pickett and Matt
you need to get better. Your team has to get better with the second pick. You draft a quarterback at number 2, your team is not getting better.
No, because
it might be better at 3 to 4 years down the road, but it is not getting better currently.
Malik Willis would for sure have to sit a full year.
And I watched an interview with him, and
I don't like it.
I'm fully out.
Oh wait, you can't do that if you're saying don't disregard the Kayvon ones. We can't let you get away with that.
You can't do that.
He sounded so bad. He just sounded dumber than a box of rocks.
I heard he was a really smart guy and a really good character dude.
He's
the guy you want to be your face.
I think everybody has, but like he had an interview with somebody. I think Sam Ponder was on ESPN, and he just I was like, "Jeez Louise." God, it wasn't bad.
That was most of the draft stuff. I'm gonna
culture fit versus raw talent debate, and this is basically all about.
I did say that. We kind of touched on that, but yeah, like I was just thinking like this regime feels like a lot about culture, whereas the past one was just like I need guys that can play my specific defense. Who cares if they have any red flags? And like during Schwartz, we were not known for great culture. Like we had some freaks on our team that like were kind of scumbags. So I was just thinking about
our team was better with them.
Yeah, I just don't know like
hell yeah
how much the staff is gonna focus on culture versus talent, and like if it's marginal. That's why I think they would take Trayvon Walker. That's kind of what sparked it in my head. All right, so joining us today ahead of a much anticipated draft for the Lions is Lions writer for the Detroit Free Press, Dave Birkett. If you watch the Lions, if you follow Lions, if you're on Twitter, read articles, you know who Dave is. He's looking at his bio now, 3-time Michigan Sports Writer of the Year. Congratulations on that. He's been covering the Lions since August of 2010. So a lot of ups and downs in there. Hopefully upward trajectory here. So we're welcoming on Dave. Thanks for joining us.
Mostly downs, but yeah, no, you're right. I like the direction that they're headed at the very least. So maybe they're onto something. We'll see.
Yeah, 100%. So selfishly, my first question for you is related to the draft, but not any players specifically. I'm more curious as someone in your position because the three of us, we're just 3 friends that decided to start a podcast. More of a fan side of things. I'm curious, and we read all the aggregators, the national guys, the local guys like you, trying to figure out intel. How hard is it for you, who has more actual sources, to sift through rumors and smoke screens at this time of year?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and it is. It's funny because I always tell people like I try to go back to some of the things you hear. I was actually talking with a scout yesterday, and I said this to him. That, you try to go back to things you hear early on in the process, right? Like after the Senior Bowl, around the combine, just, I think people have their guard is a little more down at that time. So I don't know if maybe they're more honest. I know things can change as the process goes on, but there are people that have extra motivations this time of year to put something out or to fish out information from you. So what they say about prospects early in the process is really what I sort of weigh or tell myself to go back on, and don't always believe the latest, rumor. And not that it always, works out that way, but I remember like the TJ Hawkinson draft, right? Like Lions were linked to Hawkinson, early on. And I think I actually wrote something like that. It was Hawkinson and I don't remember who else I might've put in the mix, or Ed Oliver, or, so there were some other people that were kind of around there. And I just remember telling myself that very last day before I did my last mock, like, all right, like, what do you believe, right? You have to go back to early on in the process. And so I mocked them Hawk in my last mock draft, and it turned out to be the right thing to do.
Yeah, it seems like pretty good advice to lean on kind of your gut feel for the beginning. But kind of based off of that, one of the more latest rumors that entered the NFL world today was about Deebo Samuel. And the three of us talked about that a little bit early on in the show. Now it's hard to tell, how what the interest level is from teams across the league. I'm sure they'll pretty much all be interested. But when a guy like Ian Rappaport throws out the Lions just in one of his, follow-up tweets, the initial news, was curious your perspective on would there be real legitimate interest from the Lions and how could that potentially factor into any draft time decisions?
Yeah, no, a couple hours later here, I haven't heard anything directly linking the Lions to him yet, but it makes sense that they would be, in the market for him. I mean, obviously he's a young player, he's a good player, he would be at a position of need. The Lions would have to pay him a lot of money to get him to come over. And they have, lots of draft capital that they could use. I think that's part of it, right? The 49ers are a team that would be in need of some draft capital to move him. They don't, San Francisco does not have, I forget when their first pick is, but they're void of it up top. And so the Lions with a couple first, certainly you would think they'd be in the mix. I will tell you this, that not that the 49ers would turn down an offer from the Lions if it's the best offer, but I know they were a little bitter at the Lions for, in their eyes, gifting the Rams a Super Bowl by trading them Matthew Stafford last year for Jared Goff. So I think if deals were the same with the Lions and some other team, they might lean towards another team's offer, just because there's probably some sort of grudge there about what went on last year in the NFC West.
Yeah,
payback.
With that, what do you think it would take for Deebo? You think 32 and 34 or
yeah, I don't think
more?
32 is going to do it. Yeah, that's a good question, because you got to pay him $30 million a year too. And so, I guess when you make a move like that, the contract comes into play, but it's probably like the Devontae Adams trade. I mean, it's probably similar compensation, right? The Raiders gave up just pick 22, I think it was. Maybe there was a little bit more there. I forget exactly the terms, but I would think it'd be a deal similar to that. Deebo's a little bit younger, so I'm sorry about the kids screaming in the background.
No problem.
Get up and close my office door here in a second, but I think it would be a package similar to that Devontae Adams trade.
I know we were doing some research today, and I saw on your Twitter account here that your mock draft 4.0 is done, but I don't think it's public yet from what I saw. Is there anything you can tease out from that for us? We'll be dropping this tomorrow morning, so I don't want to spoil anything. Totally fine if you can't, but I was just curious what the latest one has for you.
Yeah, no, I haven't even sent it in yet. It's going to publish Sunday, I think, maybe online like Friday or something, but I haven't even sent it to the bosses yet. I'll probably do that tonight. Just want to, make sure I'm, comfortable with everything I did specifically from the Lions standpoint. And then B, the Deebo stuff. I mean, it seems like there's been so many trades this offseason. I don't want to have to send it and then go back and redo it 2 days later, just to be frank. So I probably will send that in tonight or tomorrow just to make sure nothing cracks in the Deebo front. But look, I've said all along that I think the Lions take the best defensive player available. That's still the case, in this mock. And I think if Hutchinson is there at 1, I still think, or at 2, I still think he's the pick. If he gets by the Jaguars, the video that we referenced before we started talking about this, I talked with the Jaguars beat writer from the Florida Times-Union tonight, and he does think the Lions or the Jaguars are going to take Hutchinson, but he's not entirely convinced. I mean, he thinks an offensive lineman still could be in the mix. So, he gave me a little bit to think about there with Hutchinson perhaps being in play for the Lions at 2. Ultimately, I think it's probably going to come down to Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson, which are the names that everyone's heard so far. And it's just a matter of, can the Lions get comfortable enough with Thibodeau and his, personality, I guess, to be a fit, because I think he's probably the most talented of those 3. And so therefore would be the best player for the Lions to take at number 2.
And you just touched on it a little bit with Thibodeau. Do you think it's really that big of a cultural problem for him if we pass on him at 2, if he's still there?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I've definitely heard, all the things about why, he's again, Kayvon Thibodeau, there's nothing like, he's not like a bad guy, like getting into legal trouble. There's nothing like that. Right. So I don't think teams have an issue with that. It's just, some teams may have a problem with, did he take some plays off? He was playing with an ankle injury last year. So I think some of that you can chalk up to that. But from the Lions standpoint, it's more about like, how does he fit in the locker room, mesh with what Dan Campbell is trying to build? Is he too much about me instead of the we? And, that's something that he addressed at the combine. He said that's not the case. And I think it just depends on who you talk to. And, I'll tell you guys this. I mean, the Lions had, my understanding was a good, interview with him at the combine. So I don't know that they had any issues from that standpoint. Certainly they know that, he's maybe his personality isn't for everyone, but part of, Dan Campbell, or one of Dan Campbell's strengths, I think, is, being willing to accept everyone's personality, for what it is. And so, I don't know, that's something that I'm definitely still trying to wrap my head around there. And I'll tell you this, I've definitely had people tell me that they were turned off by, their interactions with Kayvon, throughout this process. But I was talking to somebody yesterday who told me that Kayvon was a true professional when he dealt with them and everything that he did. And he just wanted to make sure that, his schedule was right so he could take care of his training away from, with his personal trainer and his nutrition and things that were pretty mature for, a prospect that's 21 years old. So I definitely think there's a wide range of opinions on what teams would be willing to do with him.
So it sounds like you think probably edge rusher at 2. So kind of switching gears in the back half at 32 or 34. Do you think a quarterback is possible? I mean, everyone's talking about it. All the fans want a quarterback, it seems. But what do you think personally?
This is the other sort of scenario that I guess I'm wrestling with a little bit for my mock draft is 32. I do think a quarterback could be in play for the Lions because, they obviously need one long term. At least I believe they need to find a successor for Jared Goff sooner rather than later. The one thing that's, as you look at all the work the Lions have done on these quarterback prospects, and we've all thought about it in the realm of being like, are these guys in the mix at 2, or what if someone trades up, or the Panthers at 6, or what if the Panthers pass, and what if the Falcons and the Seahawks don't like these quarterbacks in the top 10 because none of them are sure bets. Like, if one of those guys is there at 17, do the Lions package 32 and 34 to go up and get a Malik Willis before the Pittsburgh Steelers take him at 20? So I think there's a possibility that the Lions could, that those quarterbacks could fall, and that one of them, probably Willis, is intriguing enough that the Lions would be willing to take him at some point. So I don't think they would take a quarterback at 32 just to take one. I think there's value obviously in having the rookie contract for a guy that then you can build up the rest of your team for 4 years around him. But I think I feel pretty comfortable in saying they liked what they saw of Malik Willis at the Senior Bowl, and maybe if there was an opportunity to acquire him somewhere, that's something that they might be interested in doing.
And that got me thinking, because with the Senior Bowl and with just, mock drafts, there's so many of them these days, but you do see Malik Willis to the Lions at 2 in some of them. And there was the kind of run he had after the Super Bowl. But does it seem, as we sit about a week out, that it would be in the cards for them at 2 to take him, or does it feel like they really want that value of one of those edge rushers up that high?
Yeah, I just, I did have one GM tell me a couple weeks ago, that he thought the Lions would take Willis at 2. But that's the only, connected NFL person that I've found that really thinks that. I think most of the feedback I've gotten and most of the belief around the league is that those quarterbacks aren't quite worthy of that high a pick. And it's a little weird to say because, there's no great prospect in this draft, right? So it's not like people are fawning over themselves for Aiden Hutchinson or Thibodeau or one of the offensive linemen or whoever is up top. So I can't rule it out, but I don't think I think the chances are slim that they would take a quarterback that high. I just think there's more, the more I talk to people, the more likely I think it is that, they're hoping that one of those guys slides into the teens where maybe it makes more sense for them to go up and get them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different draft, right? If you get an edge rusher at 2, if you get Hutchinson or Thibodeau or, Walker, whoever it is at 2, and then you get a quarterback along with him, you still get your playmaker that, can be a difference maker on defense. And then you've got this young guy that you can build around that doesn't need to play, for a year at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, all your insight aside, who would you take it to? Who do you think is worth the pick?
It's a good question. I would just to give you an answer, probably Thibodeau. I think I would be comfortable enough with him and his personality to take him at 2. I think, the way it works a lot of times in the NFL is you're picking from buckets of players, right? So, it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's, well, these, 4 guys are like our elite tier of players. And so, if one of those guys is gone, well, which of those guys in that bucket best fits your culture, your personality, your needs, your all the other boxes that are sort of checked. And so the thing that I've struggled to really get a good grasp on in this draft is whether that top bucket is 4 players, right? If it's Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau and the 2 offensive linemen. And so then the Lions are taking Thibodeau if Hutchinson isn't there because he, best fits what they need. Or if it's, 8 players, if it's those 4 plus, Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson and Trayvon Walker and Malik Willis. And so then you have many more options, and trading down is much more appealing. So I think there's a variety of thoughts on that. But if I had to pick one person that I think would be there, I would say Hutchinson 1, Kayvon Thibodeau 2. I would say one of those 2 guys would be my pick for the Lions if I was running, the draft.
So take away your GM cap. Do you have a favorite draft prospect with all the people you've done research on or interviewed or whatnot?
Yeah, let me think about that for a sec. Look, I like Willis. I've come around on, I don't, I think he's far away from being what he can be, but, you guys probably know, like I've been a quarterback guy for years here, right? Like thinking that the Lions need a quarterback and, should draft a successor to Stafford when he was still on the roster. And, I think they missed their window back there a couple of years ago. And I know Willis isn't in that same, class as a Herbert or Burrow or some of the other guys that have gotten drafted here recently. But, if there's conviction on the Lions standpoint to take him, I would have no problem with them taking him because I think quarterback is that important. But having said that, my job doesn't depend on how that quarterback does, and Brad Holmes does. So, it's a little easier for me to say than for him to pull the trigger on that. Nakobe Dean's another easy one. Obviously, he's just such a great player. I know he's fallen in some mocks and probably rightfully so because of the athletic traits and the injury history and that sort of thing. But man, the guy's a really good football player. And, if you get him at 32 and you get, 5 good years out of him, that's a win for your organization.
Yeah. I think I myself am a Michigan football fan. Anyone that watched the Orange Bowl game saw him pop out in just that game alone. And I think despite the measurables, Lions fans would be overjoyed to have him there at 32 or 34 if you were to kind of slip to that range, because his instincts for the ball just are on a different level than watching other college quarterbacks.
Yeah, no doubt. No, he was a phenomenal player. And I think you're right. Like people probably saw Georgia, but maybe, just knew Georgia was great in the defense, but when you watched him against a team that you knew, like a Michigan, and you really saw the impact that he had, I think it's pretty easy to see why a lot of people think he's just a really good football player.
Is there any wideouts you see going in the 1 or 2, 32 or 34, or do you think we'll wait it out until maybe 3rd?
Definitely possible that they could take one. I mean, they have that need, as we talked about with Deebo. I do look at Brad Holmes, the draft history that he had. Last year the Lions obviously had a bigger need at the receiver position, and they waited to the 4th round to take Amon-Ra St. Brown. when you go back to what happened in LA when he was the college scouting director there in the Rams, and I know he wasn't, directly pulling the trigger on the picks, but, Cooper Kupp was a 3rd rounder and Josh Reynolds was a 4th rounder, and, Van Jefferson was a late 2. So I think receiver is deep enough that, you don't necessarily have to spend 32 on it. You can probably get a pretty good one at 66. And so, as I was sitting down to do my most recent mock, trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know that I gave him. Maybe I did. Maybe I did give him a receiver at 34, but I don't think it's a must that they do it. I mean, obviously the North Dakota State kid's, he's big and he's fast and he would fit. I know, George Pickens, I gave to the Lions in my last mock, I think at 34. I think if you go into round 3, though, a guy like a Calvin Austin, I mean, he doesn't have the size that the Lions are looking for, but that guy's pretty electric, and he provides some return too. So I think there's some good receivers that should be able to contribute year one. It's just a matter of if you think those guys can maybe eventually be a number 1 for you, and how important it is for your offense to have that number 1 caliber receiver.
This one's a little more intricate with specifically Georgia and their historic defense. And there's been past defenses we've seen, like Alabama's of the world, that have a ton of guys taken in the 1st and 2nd rounds. And for the most part, they are solid players, but some obviously will be misses because usually a whole defense isn't, all going to hit in the NFL. I'm just curious, like when you're reviewing guys or talking to scouts, how difficult is it in a sense when there's that many guys that are thought to be 1st and 2nd round talents, and then figuring out, is one guy just better than another because he's getting, Jordan Davis is drawing double teams the whole time. It's like, I mean, there's safeties, there's 3 linebackers for them. It seems like their whole defensive line is there. It's like, I'm trying to figure out who on these guys is going to be like really legit and who's going to be like, oh, maybe he benefited from Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's where the pros can decipher a whole lot better than me. You know what I mean? And that's why I sort of lean on those the NFL evaluators for my input, because I'm with you. You see all 3 of those linebackers flying around and making plays, and it's sometimes it's tough to distinguish like why one player is going to be a great pro or has a better potential to be than another. I mean, I think that's probably the question that a lot of people are wrestling with Trayvon Walker right now too, right? Because he only had, a handful of sacks, and the way Georgia used him, a lot of people, I feel like, think of him as an interior player, a 5 technique, maybe a 3 technique, somebody that you can play, sort of all along the inside of the line, flex him out a little bit, at end. But, he also did the outside linebacker drills at Georgia's pro day. So, the athletic ability is undeniable, and it's just, well, why didn't he get a lot of sacks? Is it because, and a lot of pressures, is that just because of how they used him? Was he benefiting from Davis, from some of those other guys, like you said? So that's a really good question, and maybe one I should, dive deeper into when I ask some guys this, but I would just say that's why I tend to trust the pros at their job rather than try to make some of those decisions myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you've talked about a little of the guys or a little bit of the guys. Is there any under the radar prospects that isn't really getting talked about, or somebody you kind of like later in the round, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, that nobody's really talking about just because it's solely based off of that number 2 pick?
Yeah. I think one position maybe that we haven't talked about a lot with the Lions is interior defensive line, that I think they still could use a player at. And so the Houston defensive tackle, that's a name that, I don't think I mocked him to the Lions in my one that's coming out this weekend, but I definitely thought about, putting him or giving him to the Lions at some point because, he has some pass rush. So I'm trying to think of some, Travis Jones from Connecticut's another one, but, I'm a fan, I think, of the Houston defensive tackle. Trying to think of some other, deeper sleeper guys, I guess, that makes sense for the Lions. You mentioned Georgia. Quay Walker's another one. I don't know that he's much of a sleeper, but as you look at sort of the linebackers, right, Nakobe Dean gets a lot of love. I think Quay Walker's a guy that's probably in the mix for the Lions at 32 or 34 or wherever that could be. Yeah, give me a second on that. Let me see if there's another name that comes to my head on sort of an offensive lineman or another position that could help. The Maryland safety Cross. He's a guy that could be in the mix, I think, for the Lions in like round 3. If they don't take, I think I gave Jaquan Brisker to the Lions once upon a time in one of my mocks at 32 or 34. Safety is another position that Brad Holmes has drafted late or been a part of, later draft picks. And so I think, maybe it's rather than look at 32, maybe it's some of the guys that could be there for them at 66 that we should start talking about a little bit more.
So this is my last question. This is just for my own, sanity at night. There's no chance we're taking a corner at 2, right? There's no way. I don't have to think about that.
You're still shook after the Okudah
I was
pick?
not happy about the Okudah pick.
Yeah, I'd look. I think it's best defensive player available. So, Sauce. Gardner's. He's a good player. I mean, what they say about him not having given up a touchdown is true, and he's got the size, and he's. I think he needs some of that confidence. But I'd be a little surprised. I just think there's, the value is still such that a pass rusher there makes the most sense. Now Lions do have some concerns there, and I do think maybe there's an opportunity to address one of those positions. A guy that I do like for the Lions, if he's around at 32, is Dax, Hill from Michigan, because I think he can do a little bit of, he can play some slot if you need him. He can play safety. I just don't think he's going to make it there, but I'd be surprised if the Lions. I'd be surprised if the Lions took a cornerback at 2, but I'd be less surprised than if they were to take a quarterback or an offensive lineman. Let's put it that way.
It's good because I don't think I can sleep.
You'd be frustrated. You'd be putting a fist through the TV, huh?
It would be rough. Yeah.
All right. Well, we definitely enjoyed your time, Dave. I think that's all the questions for us. So we'll get out of here about half hour in. But thanks again for hopping on with us, and we're excited to see how everything unfolds.
Yeah,
a week from now.
So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it, guys.